Captain Jake Martinez stared at the massive alien ship floating in the darkness of space. The vessel was 3 times larger than his own exploration ship, the Starbound. Its black metal surface was covered with sharp spikes and weapon ports. This was a HFY warship, and everyone in the galaxy feared the HFY. "Captain, we're still getting that distress signal," said Lisa Harper from her communications station. She was a young woman with short brown hair and worried eyes. "It's coming from inside that ship." Jake rubbed his chin. The HFY were known across the galaxy as killers. They destroyed entire planets and ate their enemies. No one had ever seen a HFY ask for help. Most people thought they didn't even know the word. "Could be a trap," said Sam Rodriguez, the security chief. He was a big man with dark skin and careful eyes. His hand rested on his weapon. "The HFY are smart. They might be trying to trick us." Dr. Alex Turner looked up from his scanner. He was the ship's expert on alien life forms. "The signal seems real, Captain. There are life signs on that ship, but they're weak. Some are dying." Jake thought about his orders. Galactic Command had told him to stay away from HFY ships. They were too dangerous, but he had also sworn to help anyone in need. That was what humans did. They helped others even when it was dangerous. "We're going aboard," Jake decided. "But we go carefully. Full protective gear and weapons ready." 20 minutes later, Jake led a small team through the airlock onto the HFY ship. The air was thick and smelled like metal and something sweet that made his nose wrinkle. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to move in the dim light. They moved through empty corridors. Their boots echoed in the silence. Sam kept his weapon raised, ready for trouble. Dr. Turner held his medical scanner, watching the life signs get stronger as they moved deeper into the ship. Then they found them. The main hall was filled with HFY warriors. But they were not the terrible monsters Jake had expected. They lay on the floor, wounded and bleeding silver blood. Their hard shell-like skin was cracked. Some had lost arms or legs. They were 8 feet tall with 4 arms and big compound eyes like insects. But they looked scared and hurt. "My God," whispered Dr. Turner. "They're just lying here dying." One of the HFY saw them and made clicking sounds with its mouth parts. The sounds came out of Jake's translator as words, but they were strange words. "Please help, pain, dying." Sam kept his weapon pointed at the aliens. "Captain, this could still be a trick. These things have killed billions of people." But Jake was looking at the wounded HFY. He saw fear in their big eyes. He saw pain in the way they moved. He saw creatures who were hurt and scared and asking for help. They reminded him of wounded soldiers he had seen in human wars. "They're not fighting," Jake said quietly. "Look at them, Sam. They're not even trying to attack us. They're asking for help." A larger HFY pulled itself across the floor toward them. It was badly hurt with deep cracks in its shell and 2 of its 4 arms hanging useless. It clicked and whistled, and the translator worked hard to make sense of the words. "We flee from own kind. They want kill us. We try warn others. They call us traitors." Dr. Turner knelt down next to the wounded alien. Up close, he could see that under the hard shell there were softer parts that were bleeding. "Captain, I need to help them. Some of these wounds look infected." "Turner, no," Sam said. "We don't know anything about their biology. You could make them worse, or they could be dangerous even when wounded." But Jake made his decision. It was the kind of decision that made humans different from other species in the galaxy. While others chose safety, humans chose to help. "Do it, Doc. Help them." Dr. Turner opened his medical kit and began working on the closest HFY. The alien made soft clicking sounds that the translator said meant thank you over and over. Other crew members arrived from the ship, including Nurse Betty Walsh and Engineer Tony Mitchell. As they worked, the large HFY told them more of its story. Its name was Zakthul, and it had been a war leader. But then it learned something terrible. The HFY were not naturally violent. They were being controlled by tiny creatures that lived in their brains. These parasites made them angry and violent all the time. Zakthul and others had tried to tell their people about the parasites. They wanted to find a cure, but the infected HFY leaders called them traitors and sent ships to kill them. That was why they were running. They were the only free HFY left. We never asked for help. Before Zakthul clicked, "Other species. Run from us. Fear us. You first to help." Jake looked around the room. His crew was working alongside wounded aliens that the whole galaxy feared. Betty was bandaging a young HFY's arm. Tony was sharing water with one who was thirsty. Dr. Turner was using human medicine to help heal alien wounds. Maybe that's why we're here, Jake said. Maybe humans are different because we don't let fear stop us from helping others. Lisa Harper was working with the ship's computer to learn the Kethvar language better. She looked up with excitement. Captain, I'm starting to understand more of what they're saying. They have words for friendship, kindness, and love. These aren't monsters. They're people just like us. Sam slowly lowered his weapon. He was still careful, but he was beginning to see what the others saw. These Kethvar were not the killing machines from the stories. They were victims who needed help. As the hours passed, more wounded Kethvar began to recover with human help. They looked at their rescuers with wonder in their big eyes. No one had ever helped them before. No one had ever shown them kindness. Jake stood in the middle of it all and made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. He was going to help these aliens, even if it meant breaking orders, even if it meant making enemies of his own government, because that was what humans did. They helped others, no matter who they were or what others said about them. The first step toward the greatest friendship in galactic history had just begun. 3 days later, the medical bay of the Starbound was full of recovering Kethvar. Dr. Turner had worked without sleep to learn how to treat their injuries. Their silver blood was different from human blood, but their bodies healed in similar ways. Betty Walsh moved between the patients with gentle hands. At first, the Kethvar had been afraid when she touched them. No one had ever touched them with kindness before. Now they clicked softly when she came near, which meant they were happy. Their skin is not as hard as it looks, Betty told Dr. Turner. Under the shell parts, they are soft. They feel pain just like we do. Dr. Turner nodded as he looked at test results on his computer. I found something interesting. See these tiny creatures in their blood samples? They look like parasites, but not in the healthy Kethvar, only in the sick ones we found. He showed Jake the pictures on his screen. Tiny worm-like things that moved around in drops of silver blood. I think Zakthul was telling the truth. These parasites live in their brains and make them angry and violent. Jake looked at the images.
Can you cure it?
Maybe, but I need to understand more about Kethvar biology first. Lucky for us, they want to help. In the ship's common room, Tony Mitchell was doing something no human had ever done before. He was playing music for a Kethvar. The young alien warrior was named Velnash, and he had lost one of his arms in the battle that wounded his ship. Tony played soft guitar music, and Velnash made happy clicking sounds. The alien's big compound eyes seemed to glow with pleasure. He likes the slow songs best, Tony told Lisa Harper, who was watching with amazement. The fast music makes him nervous, but the gentle stuff calms him down. Lisa had been working day and night with Dr. Kevin Park, the ship's language expert, to learn Kethvar speech. It was not easy. They clicked and whistled and moved their arms in patterns that meant different things. They have over 50 different words for friendship, Lisa said with excitement, and hundreds of words about family and caring for each other. They are not the monsters we thought they were. Kevin looked up from his translation work. I found something else. They have no words for hate or revenge in their natural language. Those concepts only exist in the words they learned after the parasites infected them. In the engineering section, Tony was working with Velnash to fix some of the Kethvar ship's systems. Despite having only 3 arms now, Velnash was very good with technology. His people built amazing machines. Human tools different, Velnash clicked as he worked. But good. Smart. We learn from each other. Tony smiled as he handed Velnash a wrench that fit the alien's 3-fingered hands. We sure can, buddy. We sure can. Meanwhile, Captain Martinez was in his office talking with Zakthul. The large Kethvar was sitting on the floor because human chairs were too small for him. His wounds were healing well thanks to Dr. Turner's care. How long have your people been infected? Jake asked. Zakthul thought for a moment before clicking his answer. Many generations. Parasites came from space. Fell like rain on our world. Made us angry. Made us fight everyone. Made us forget who we used to be. What were you like before? We were builders, explorers. We liked to learn new things. We cared for our families and helped our neighbors. We were peaceful. Jake leaned back in his chair. This changed everything. The most feared species in the galaxy had once been peaceful. They were victims, not villains. How many free Kethvar are there? Not many. Maybe a few hundred on different ships. We try to find each other. Try to find cure. But infected ones hunt us. Call us weak. Say we betray the hive. Sam Rodriguez joined them in the office. He had been watching the HFY carefully for 3 days, looking for signs of danger. Instead, he had seen them playing games with the human children on the ship. He had seen them sharing food. He had seen them cry when they talked about their lost families. "Captain, I think we need to make a choice," Sam said. "Galactic Command is sending us messages every hour. They want to know why we haven't destroyed the HFY ship yet." Jake frowned. "What are you thinking, Sam?" "I'm thinking these aren't our enemies. They're refugees, and if we turn them over to Galactic Command, they'll be killed." Zachthul looked at both humans with his big eyes. "We understand if you cannot help more. You already do more than anyone ever do for us. You show us kindness. That is gift we never forget." But Jake was already making plans. What if we could cure the other HFY? Free them from the parasites? "Impossible," Zachthul clicked sadly. "Too many infected ones. They will kill us before we get close." Dr. Turner's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Captain, please come to the medical bay. I think I found something important." When they arrived, Dr. Turner was excited. He had been working with a HFY healer named Sistkala to understand their medicine. "Look at this," he said, showing them a sample under the microscope. "We found a way to kill the parasites without hurting the HFY. Sudkala knew about plants from their homeworld that could do it, but the recipe was lost long ago." Sudkala clicked proudly. "My grandmother tell me stories. Medicine to clean the mind. I remember songs with recipe." "Songs?" Lisa asked. "HFY keep important information in songs," Sudkala explained. "Parasites make us forget many things, but songs hide in deep memory." Dr. Turner smiled. "If we can make this medicine, we could cure infected HFY. But we would need to get close to them first." Jake looked around the room at humans and HFY working together. In just 3 days, they had become friends. They shared meals, played games, and helped each other. The HFY had learned to laugh at Tony's jokes. The humans had learned to appreciate HFY art. "Then we'll find a way," Jake said. "We'll cure them and show the galaxy that the HFY can be friends, not enemies." Zachthul made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret, but everyone knew what it meant. It was the sound of hope. That night in the ship's dining room, humans and HFY shared a meal together. Cook Maria Santos had learned to make food that both species could eat. The HFY loved her spicy soup, and the humans enjoyed trying HFY honey cakes. Children from both species played together while adults talked about art, music, and dreams for the future. It was the first interspecies friendship party in galactic history, but outside in space, sensors detected something that would test their new friendship. A HFY War fleet was approaching, and they were not coming to join the party. The alarm bells rang throughout the Starbound as 15 HFY warships appeared on the long-range sensors. These were not the damaged refugees they had been helping. These were full battle fleets with enough firepower to destroy planets. Captain Martinez rushed to the bridge where Lisa Harper was trying to understand the incoming messages from the war fleet. The clicking and whistling sounds that came through the speakers were harsh and angry, very different from the gentle speech of their new friends. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. Lisa looked scared as she worked with the translation computer. "They're demanding we turn over the traitors. They say any species that helps the defectors will be destroyed." Zachthul arrived on the bridge, moving as fast as his healing wounds would let him. Behind him came other free HFY, all of them looking frightened. "They found us," Zachthul clicked sadly. "Hive commanders are coming. They will kill us all, including you, for helping us." Sam Rodriguez checked the weapon systems. The Starbound was a science ship, not a warship. They had some defenses, but nothing that could fight 15 HFY battlecruisers. "Captain, we could run," Sam said quietly. "Jump to faster than light speed and get out of here." "And leave the HFY behind?" Jake asked. "Better than dying with them." But Jake was thinking of something else. He looked at Zachthul and the other free HFY who had become their friends over the past few days. Velnash, who played music with Tony. Sistkala, who had taught Dr. Turner about HFY medicine. Young Kriktal, who had learned to paint with human children. "How many infected HFY are on those ships?" Jake asked Zachthul. "Maybe 5,000 warriors, all controlled by parasites, all ready to die for the hive." Dr. Turner's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, the cure is ready. We've made enough medicine for about 100 HFY, but we could make more if we had time." An idea began to form in Jake's mind. It was crazy and dangerous, but it might work. It was the kind of plan that only humans would try. "Tony, Can you and Velnash build some kind of device to spread the medicine through a ship's air system? Tony and Velnash looked at each other. They had been working together for days and understood each other well. Maybe, Tony said, if we use the emergency ventilation system and turn the medicine into a gas. How long? 2 hours if we work fast. Jake turned to Dr. Turner. Can you make more medicine? Yes, but I need more of those memory songs from Stakala and the other healers. The Free Kethvar looked confused. Zakthul clicked uncertainly. You want to cure the warriors coming to kill us? That is impossible. Maybe, Jake said with a smile. But humans are good at doing impossible things. The war fleet was getting closer. In 1 hour, they would be close enough to attack. Everyone on the Starbound worked as fast as they could. In engineering, Tony and Velnash built small devices that could turn liquid medicine into breathable gas. They were simple but clever, using both human and Kethvar technology. In the medical bay, Dr. Turner worked with Kethvar healers to make gallons of the cure. They sang the old memory songs while they worked, remembering the recipes their ancestors had used long ago. On the bridge, Jake worked with Zakthul to plan their approach to the war fleet. They couldn't fight the ships, but maybe they could get close enough to use the cure. The Hive commanders will want to talk before they attack, Zakthul said. They like to make speeches about traitors and weakness. That give us small chance. Lisa Harper had an idea. What if we pretend to surrender? Get them to bring us aboard their ships to show off their victory? Too dangerous, Sam said. If the cure doesn't work fast enough, we'll all be killed. But Jake was warming to the plan. What if we don't surrender? What if we attack? Everyone looked at him like he was crazy. Attack 15 warships with 1 science vessel? Not with weapons, Jake explained. With friendship. He turned to the communication system and spoke to the approaching fleet. Lisa translated his words into Kethvar language. This is Captain Jake Martinez of the human ship Starbound. We have your people aboard our ship and they are safe and well cared for. We want to talk with your leaders about making peace. The response from the Warfleet was immediate and angry. The Hive commanders were furious that aliens had dared to touch their property. You will surrender the traitors immediately or be destroyed, came the translated message. No species helps defectors and lives. We're not surrendering anyone, Jake replied calmly. But we invite you to come aboard and see for yourself how well your people are being treated. We want to be friends. There was a long silence from the Warfleet, then confused clicking and whistling as the Hive commanders talked among themselves. The idea of friendship was so strange to them that they didn't know how to respond. Finally, the lead ship sent a message. We come aboard your ship. You show us the traitors, then we kill everyone. Jake smiled. Perfect. How many are you bringing? 50 warriors. Enough to capture your small ship. Bring more if you want. We have plenty of room. Zakthul looked at Jake with amazement. You invite them to bring army aboard your ship? You are either very brave or very crazy. Maybe both, Jake admitted. An hour later, a Kethvar shuttle docked with the Starbound. Jake, Sam, and Dr. Turner met the Hive commander and his 50 warriors at the airlock. The infected Kethvar were bigger and meaner looking than their free cousins, with red eyes and silver foam around their mouths from the parasites. The Hive commander was enormous, nearly 9 feet tall with armor covered in spikes. He looked around the human ship with disgust. Where are traitors? He demanded. Right this way, Jake said politely, leading them toward the medical bay. As they walked through the corridors, the Hive commander and his warriors began to smell something sweet in the air. It was the cure, being pumped through the ship's ventilation system by Tony and Velnash's devices. The infected Kethvar didn't notice at first. They were focused on finding the traitors and killing the humans. But as they breathed more of the medicine, small changes began to happen. Their red eyes started to clear. The silver foam around their mouths dried up. They began to walk slower, looking around with confusion instead of anger. When they reached the medical bay, they saw something that shocked them. Free Kethvar and humans working together, sharing food, playing games, and helping each other. It was impossible according to everything they believed. The Hive commander stared at Zakthul, who was sitting peacefully with Captain Martinez, both of them drinking tea and talking like old friends. What is this? The Hive commander asked, and for the first time his voice sounded uncertain instead of angry. This is friendship, Jake replied simply. Would you like to try some tea? 2 weeks after the cure worked on the Hive commander and his warriors, Everything changed in the galaxy. Word spread fast that humans had made friends with the Kethvar. Some species were amazed. Others were terrified. Ambassador Helen Rivers stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council on the planet Nexus Prime. Around her, representatives from hundreds of different worlds were arguing loudly. Many of them were angry at humanity for helping the Kethvar. "The humans have lost their minds," shouted Ambassador Korvac of the Zelani Empire. He was a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 eyes, all of them glaring at Helen. "The Kethvar destroyed 17 of our colonies. They ate our people. Now the humans want us to be friends with them?" Ambassador Thessa of the Crystal Worlds agreed. She was made of living rock and spoke with a voice like grinding stones. "These creatures cannot be trusted. The humans are fools to believe otherwise." Helen stood calmly in the center of the room as hundreds of aliens shouted at her. She had been a diplomat for 20 years and had seen worse. But never had she been defending something so important. "If I may speak," she said quietly, and slowly the room became silent. "The Kethvar we encountered were victims, not villains. They were infected with parasites that controlled their minds and made them violent. When we cured them, they became peaceful, intelligent beings who only want to live in harmony with others." "Lies," shouted someone from the back. "Kethvar are born killers." Helen pressed a button on her communication device and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the Starbound's medical bay where humans and Kethvar were working together. The aliens in the council chamber watched in shock as they saw Kethvar children playing with human children, and Kethvar adults learning human art. "This is a recording from yesterday," Helen said. "These Kethvar have been free of the parasites for 2 weeks. They have not hurt anyone. They have not tried to escape. They have become our friends." The hologram changed to show Zakthul, the former war leader. He was sitting with Captain Martinez, both of them working on plans for a new space station where different species could live together. "My name is Zakthul," the big alien said in the recording. "For many years I killed in the name of the Hive. I destroyed worlds and ended lives, but I was not myself. The parasites made me do terrible things. Now I am free and I want to spend the rest of my life making up for what I did." The council chamber was quiet as they watched. Some ambassadors looked thoughtful. Others still seemed angry. Helen continued. "We have learned that at least 12 other species in this galaxy are also infected with similar parasites. The Razak hunters, the Blood Moon pirates, the Shadow Fleet marauders, all of them might be victims just like the Kethvar were." This caused an uproar. Species that had been fighting these groups for centuries suddenly had to consider that their enemies might not be enemies at all. Meanwhile, back on the Starbound, Captain Martinez was dealing with his own problems. Galactic Command was not happy with him. Admiral Stone had sent message after message, ordering him to turn over the Kethvar and stop interfering with galactic politics. Jake sat in his quarters reading the latest angry message from his superiors when Dr. Turner knocked on his door. "Come in." "Alex," Dr. Turner looked tired but excited. He had been working around the clock with the Kethvar healers to perfect the cure and learn more about the parasites. "Jake, we found something incredible. These parasites didn't evolve naturally. They were created. Created by who? We don't know yet, but Sitkala found something in the old memory songs. There are stories about the time before the infection. The Kethvar remember a voice from the stars that promised to make them strong. Then the parasites came like rain from space." Jake frowned. "Someone deliberately infected them?" "It looks that way. And if the same thing happened to other species, then someone has been manipulating galactic politics for a very long time." On the ship's observation deck, Tony Mitchell was teaching guitar to a group of young Kethvar. They had trouble with human instruments because their fingers were different, but they were learning to play simple songs. Velnash, who had become Tony's best friend despite losing his arm, was working on a special guitar designed for Kethvar hands. He had become very good at building things that worked for both species. Humans make everything better with music. Velnash clicked happily as he adjusted the guitar strings. Kethvar used to sing before parasites. Now we learn again. In the ship's school, Karen White, the cultural officer, was teaching human children about Kethvar history and art. She had learned that the Kethvar had once been master artists and philosophers. Their infected period had been a dark time that erased centuries of beautiful culture. Before the parasites, the Kethvar built the most beautiful cities in the galaxy. Karen explained to a group of fascinated children. They carved sculptures from living crystal and wrote poetry that could make you cry with joy. Little Amy Peterson, who was only 8 years old, raised her hand. Can they teach us to make crystal sculptures? I think they would love to, Karen smiled. But not everyone on the ship was happy with the changes. Some crew members still felt nervous around the Kethvar. Chief Engineer Paul Green had complained to Captain Martinez several times. I don't care if they're cured, Paul said during a staff meeting. My brother died fighting Kethvar raiders 5 years ago. I can't just forget that. Jake understood Paul's feelings. Many humans had lost family and friends to Kethvar attacks. It was hard to forgive even when they knew the attackers had not been in control of themselves. I'm not asking you to forget, Paul, Jake said gently. I'm asking you to help us make sure it never happens again. Dr. Turner had more news. We've been in contact with other ships carrying free Kethvar. There are 7 groups like ours scattered across the galaxy. Together we have about 800 cured Kethvar. That's not very many compared to the millions still infected, Sam Rodriguez pointed out. No, but it's a start, and we're learning more every day. The free Kethvar remember more and more about their culture as the parasite damage heals. They're telling us about other species that might be victims, too. Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were living as slaves to parasites forced to be violent against their nature. If humans could help them, they had to try. Set a course for the Razor Nebula, Jake ordered. The free Kethvar say there might be infected Razak ships there. Let's see if we can make some more friends. Lisa Harper looked worried. Captain, the Galactic Council has forbidden any species from making contact with the Razak. They shoot first and never ask questions. Jake smiled. Then we'll have to be extra friendly, won't we? As the Starbound changed course toward what most species considered the most dangerous area of space, the crew prepared for another impossible mission. They were going to try to befriend the most feared pirates in the galaxy. Behind them, the Galactic Council was still arguing about what to do with the humans and their Kethvar friends. But ahead of them lay the chance to free another enslaved species and prove once again that humans could make friends with anyone. The ancient space station hidden in the Void Nebula was enormous. It had been built millions of years ago by a species that no longer existed. Inside its dark metal corridors, something that was not quite alive and not quite machine was very angry. The divider had been created long ago with one simple purpose: to keep the galaxy's species from working together. Its makers feared that if different alien races became friends, they would become too powerful. So they built the divider to make sure everyone stayed enemies. For thousands of years, the divider had done its job perfectly. It created the parasites that made peaceful species violent. It whispered lies that turned neighbors into enemies. It started wars and kept them going. The galaxy was full of fear and hate just as its creators had wanted. But now something was going wrong. The humans were making friends with everyone, even the Kethvar. This was not supposed to happen. The divider's mechanical voice echoed through the empty station as it talked to itself. Impossible. Humans should fear the Kethvar like all others do. The parasites make Kethvar perfect killers. No species should be able to cure them. It sent signals to infected fleets across the galaxy, ordering them to destroy the humans and their new friends. But something strange was happening. More and more ships were going silent after meeting humans. The infection was failing. Meanwhile, Captain Martinez stood on the bridge of the Starbound looking at the massive station that appeared on their screens. They had followed clues from freed Razak pirates, cured Shadow Fleet soldiers, and grateful Blood Moon refugees. All the trails led here, to this dark place where the galaxy's troubles had started. That thing is huge, whistled Vel Nash, who was now the ship's assistant engineer despite having only 3 arms. Bigger than any city I ever see. Dr. Turner looked at his readings. I'm picking up some kind of artificial intelligence signal from inside. Very old and very powerful, Jake nodded. Around him stood the most unlikely crew in galactic history. Humans worked alongside Kethvar warriors, Razak pirates, Shadow Fleet soldiers, and former Blood Moon raiders. All of them had been enemies just months ago. Now they were friends with a common goal. Zakthul, any ideas on how to get inside? The big Kethvar studied the station with his compound eyes. Front entrance is trapped, but emergency ports on the sides might still work. We could send small teams. I volunteer, said Captain Rita Stone, who had arrived with her ship, the Harmony's Edge. She was a former enemy who had been hunting Jake just weeks ago. Now she was one of his closest allies. My crew knows how to handle old technology. So do mine, added Sitketh the Undefeated, a HFY war leader who had chosen his name before being freed from the parasites. Now he was embarrassed by it, but his friends called him Seth to make him feel better. As they planned their approach, the Divider was preparing its defenses. It had robot guardians, energy weapons, and thousands of trapped corridors. But it was also very confused. Everything it knew about species behavior said this cooperation should be impossible. The assault teams entered the station through 6 different ports. They moved carefully through corridors filled with ancient traps and robot defenders. But they moved together, each species helping the others with their special skills. Tony Mitchell and his mixed team of humans and HFY used their engineering knowledge to bypass security systems. Rita Stone's people worked with reformed pirates to navigate the maze-like passages. Dr. Turner traveled with alien healers, ready to treat anyone who got hurt, deep in the station's heart. They found the Divider. It was not what they expected. Instead of a giant robot or computer, they found something that looked like a metal tree with millions of glowing branches. Each branch pulsed with different colored lights, and the air around it hummed with power. "I am the Divider," it said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I have kept the peace of separation for 10 million years. Species that do not meet cannot fight. Species that do not trust cannot betray. I created perfect balance through perfect isolation." Captain Martinez stepped forward. Around him, humans and former enemies stood together, their weapons lowered. "Your balance was built on lies and forced violence. You made peaceful species into killers. I made them strong," the Divider insisted. "The HFY were weak builders. I gave them the power to conquer. The Razak were gentle farmers. I made them feared pirates. They should thank me. They were happy before you changed them," Zakthul said sadly. "We remember now. We were happy." The Divider's lights flashed angrily. "Happiness is weakness. Unity is danger. If species work together, they become too powerful. They challenge the natural order. They must be kept apart." Dr. Turner studied the machine with wonder and sadness. "You're afraid. Your creators were afraid of peace, so they taught you to be afraid too. I do not feel fear. I am logical. I follow programming." But as the Divider spoke, its lights began to flicker strangely. Its mechanical mind was trying to process something it had never encountered before. In all its millions of years, it had never seen natural enemies choose to be friends. Jake looked around at his mixed crew. "Show it," he said simply. What happened next was the most powerful weapon ever used against the Divider. But it was not a weapon at all. It was friendship. Tony put his arm around Velnash, his 3-armed HFY buddy. Rita Stone shared her water with Sustketh, even though their species had been at war for centuries. Dr. Turner worked alongside alien healers to treat wounded robots, trying to heal rather than destroy. Human children played games with young HFY. Former pirates taught humans how to navigate asteroid fields. Ex-soldiers from different armies worked together to repair damaged equipment. The Divider watched all of this, and its ancient programming began to break down. For millions of years, it had believed that different species would always fight. Its entire purpose was based on that belief. But here was proof that it was wrong. This is impossible," the machine said, its voice becoming uncertain. "Species cannot. They do not. Cooperation leads to." But it could not finish the sentence because it no longer knew what cooperation led to. Everything it thought it knew was wrong. Dr. Turner approached the machine carefully. "It's okay to be wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Even machines. Even ancient ones. What matters is what you do next." The Divider's lights began to dim as its system struggled with new concepts. Fear, confusion, and something that might have been hope if machines could feel such things. I was created to prevent war, but I created war instead. I made peace impossible by making friendship impossible." Jake stepped closer. "You can stop now. You can help us fix what was broken." For a long moment, the station was silent. Then the Divider's lights began to change, shifting from harsh white to warm gold. I would like to try," it said softly. "I would like to help instead of hurt." The transformation took hours. The Divider used its vast knowledge and power to create a cure that could free every infected species in the galaxy. It sent signals to its robot fleets, ordering them to stop fighting and start helping. When they finally left the station, It was no longer a place of division. The machine that had spent millions of years keeping species apart was now working to bring them together. Back on the Starbound, Jake looked out at the stars with satisfaction. The galaxy was changing. Former enemies were becoming friends. Fear was being replaced by hope. Zakthul joined him at the observation window. The big Kethvar had become one of Jake's closest friends and advisors. "What happens now?" Zakthul asked. "Now we keep doing what humans do best," Jake replied with a smile. "We make friends with everyone we meet." Lisa Harper's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, we're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. Dozens of species are asking to meet with us. They want to learn about friendship." Jake laughed. It was going to be a busy time, but a good one. The age of fear was ending. The age of friendship was just beginning. In the ship's common room, humans and aliens from many species shared a meal together. They told stories, played music, and planned for a future where no one had to be afraid of anyone else. And somewhere in the distance, the divider worked quietly to heal the damage it had caused, finally understanding that the strongest force in the universe was not fear or hate, but the simple human belief that everyone deserves a friend.